So in this lecture, we will focus to the female reproductive system. Female reproductive system, let's closer look. So in the female reproductive system, the main organs are, as you can see, the pair of the ovaries. These are the ovaries, pair of ovaries. Here you can see the fallopian tubes. These are called fallopian tubes. Okay, so after that, this is the uterus, this is the cervix, and this is the vagina. Okay, so this is the layer of the uterus. As you can see, layer of the uterus consists of the three parts: the endometrium, the myometrium, and the perimetrium. Endometrium is the most inner layer. This is called endometrium, and this is the myometrium, and this part is called perimetrium, the outer layer. I hope you understood this concept. So ovaries, the female gonads are called the ovaries. They are controlled by the hormones, by the pituitary gland, especially FSH and LH. So it's divided into two. These ovaries are controlled by the ovarian cycle, and the uterus controlled by the hormones from the ovaries, so estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the hypothalamus release the GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. This GnRH produces from the anterior pituitary two hormones, LH and FSH. So they control LH and FSH, they control the ovaries. And the ovaries, they release the estrogen and progesterone, and they control the uterus. Okay, this is like a chain. And the menstrual cycle lasts 28 days normally. So it can vary plus minus 5 days. Okay, so uterine cycle is divided into three phases. The first is menstruation, then proliferative phase, and then secretory phase. So these first 5 days, from day 1 until the day 5, this phase is called the menses, menstruation, where the shedding of the blood happens. And after that, starting from the 6th day until the 13th day, this is called proliferation. So proliferative phase of the uterine cycle. In the proliferative phase, the new endometrium is built, and then due to the high estrogen level, which comes from the ovary, as you can see in these days, from the 5 to 6, the ovary forms the ovum, and around the ovum there are follicular cells, and these follicular cells release estrogen, so estrogen level is high. As you can see in the proliferative phase, the estrogen hormone level is high, and this estrogen level in the proliferative phase, in the days 6 to 13, this estrogen form the new endometrial layer. Okay, so the estrogen level is too high in the day 6 and 13. And starting from the 14th day, in the day 14, this is the ovulation day. And starting from the 14th day until the 28th day in the uterine cycle, there will be a lot of changes. The uterine lining is formed, new blood vessels will be added, and the glucose and glycogen secreted into the endometrial lining to make it rich and nourishing. And under the control of the progesterone, which is secreted from the ovaries during this period. And this period, as you can see, in the day 14, the ovum is released outside. So, and then the corpus luteum is left. This is called the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. This corpus luteum then produces progesterone for the next 14 days. Progesterone. And this progesterone, you see the level is high, progesterone level is high starting from the day 14 until the day 28. It starts to shrink down after the day 25. So you can see this is the progesterone, which makes it more thicker. It makes the endometrial lining more thicker, okay, from the day 14 until the day 28. When the progesterone levels fall, again, this menstruation again starts, okay? In this period, estrogen is low, progesterone is low as well. That's why the menses happen. And here, starting from here, estrogen is high, getting high. Starting from here, progesterone is getting high in the secretory phase. Proliferative phase, high estrogen, and secretory phase, high progesterone. Menses, both of them will be low in the menses. ovarian cycle is divided into 3 phases as well. So follicular phase starting from the day 1 until the day 13. Here you can see the follicles around the ovum. These are the follicles around the ovum. They develop the ovum. Okay, with the help of which hormone? With the help of FSH in the ovarian cycle. No, in the ovarian cycle, the FSH causes the development of the follicle in the ovary. A follicle actually is maturing oocyte, okay, and surrounding cells. Surrounding cells divide and grow, secrete the estrogen. And this level, in the day 1 until the day 14, the estrogen is released much. Why? Because of the FSH. FSH stimulating the follicular follicles, and the follicles, they are maturing oocytes. Those follicles then secrete estrogen. That's why from the day 1 until the day 13, the estrogen starts to increase. Okay, so ovulation, this is the day 14. Ovulation happens when the ovum get outside to the fallopian tubes. They go to the fallopian tubes. And day 14, and is caused by the large surge of the LH. In the day 14, from the anterior pituitary, the LH, luteinizing hormone, will be released, and this luteinizing hormone causes the ovulation. So what is luteal phase? At the end, the luteal phase, some of the follicles stay behind the ovary under the control of LH and mature into the structure called the corpus luteum, and which secretes the progesterone. So I said the corpus luteum secretes the progesterone. This is the progesterone. What's the function of that progesterone? So progesterone, and it has an effect on the secretory phase of the uterine cycle, has a lifespan of 14 days or 2 weeks, which generates and then degrades. When degrades, estrogen and progesterone level go down. When the menses start, so endometrial lining sheds off, meaning the beginning of the next cycle. Okay, so actually, what's menstruation cycle? 28 days. Why they are important? Why girls need them, right? So the main reason is they are preparing you for the pregnancy. Okay, so this process is preparing you for the pregnancy each month. Okay, if the fertilization happens, the menstruation stops. If not, the menstruation continues. Okay, this is also the diagram. Menses first 5 days, then proliferative phase until the day 14, and then starts secretory phase until the day 28. This is the changes in the uterine cycle. Changes in the ovarian cycle, as you can see, from day 1 until the day 13, there will be follicle development. This is the developing oocyte, the follicle. They secrete the estrogen. Estrogen is important for the proliferative phase to secrete new lining of the endometrium. In the day 14, the ovulation happens. The ovum gets outside to the um, fallopian tubes toward the sperm if available. And then after the day 14, what happens? Corpus luteum is formed. This is the corpus luteum. It secretes the progesterone. This progesterone supports the secretory phase of the uterine cycle, make it more sick. Okay. And after the day 28, it's after the day 28, actually starting from the 21, it starts to degrade if fertilization didn't happen, and they become the corpus albicans. Okay, this is the degrading corpus, they disappear. As you can see here as well, this is the primordial follicle, primary follicle, which is diploid in number. They're forming the oocytes, which is gaploid in number. Secondary follicle, also gaploid in number. They're forming the graphian follicle, which is ready for ovulation. In the day 14, the ovulation is happening. In the day 14, they're leaving behind the corpus luteum. This is the corpus luteum, which secretes the progesterone. And after the day 21, actually the 25, it starts to degrade. If fertilization didn't happen, it becomes the corpus albicans. Corpus albicans, it's important. I hope you understood this. So what is ovulation? As you can see, ovulation happens in the fallopian tube in the region called the ampulla. Ampulla is the region in the fallopian tube where the fertilization happens. The sperm comes and enters to the ovum. This is the fertilization process. And then the blastocyst goes to the endometrial layer, and attaches to the endometrium, and the embryo will develop. This is called implantation. Ovum releases it in the day 14 and gets fertilized if the sperm is present. And then the implantation occurs to the endometrium, and embryo starts to secrete human chorionic gonadotropin. This embryo, after implantation, synthesizes human chorionic gonadotropin. This human chorionic gonadotropin, they go and they stimulate the corpus luteum. This is the corpus luteum to live longer. So I said the corpus luteum will live how many days? It will live 14 days, which is 2 weeks, if fertilization won't happen. But after the fertilization, this human chorionic gonadotropin stimulates the corpus luteum to secrete more progesterone, to support the secretory phase of the uterine cycle, to make sick uterine lining to prevent the miscarriage, abortion. Okay, so I hope you understood. This is the analysis, human chorionic gonadotropin. This is the analysis when they check, for the pregnancy test, that this identifies the human chorionic gonadotropin levels. Okay, and the progesterone level never falls, and the uterine lining never sheds up during the pregnancy. So that means if the fertilization, if the menstruation stops, that means there might be a pregnancy in the meset period, and is usually the first sign of the pregnancy. And the human chorionic gonadotropin stays high for the first 3 to 4 months, and this human chorionic gonadotropin support the corpus luteal cells for the next 3 to 4 months. Okay, for the next 3 to 4 months of the pregnancy, until the placenta can take over the production. After the 3 to 4 months, the placenta will secrete this progesterone. Okay, placenta will secrete progesterone. So I hope you understood. This is the structure of the female reproductive system. Here you can see the ovaries. This is the fallopian tube. This region is actually ampulla. This is the uterus. This is the cervix, and this is the vaginal region. And this is the rectum. This is the bladder. This is the vaginal region. This is the cervix region. This is the This is the uterus. This is the bladder. Okay, and this is the urethra. And I think you understood everything. So this is the anus. So this is sagittal view. So I hope you understood. And one hormone I should mention is oxytocin. Oxytocin is released from posterior pituitary. This is anterior pituitary. This is the posterior pituitary, where the oxytocin hormone is released. Function of the oxytocin is going to the mammary glands and squeeze them for the milk ejection. So milk ejection happens because of the oxytocin. Oxytocin is released in response to the baby crying. And another amazing function of the oxytocin is it goes to the uterus, and contracts it. It contracts the uterus during the labor, okay? While giving a birth, the oxytocin releases. It contracts the smooth muscle of the uterus, and helps to giving a birth, okay? So this is the illustration as well of how the menstruation process happens. If you don't have a question, this is the end of our lecture for today for the female reproductive system. If you have any questions, you can leave under the comment section. Thank you very much.